Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Blake&VishSports, Sports, episode 55. Another week, just another week of rookies, rookie quarterbacks specifically. I feel like that's been one of the hot topics this year, as well as other quarterbacks and other players who have, kind of shown out so far. It's only week 5 or beginning week 5, so we've only had 4 weeks, so it's still early, but season's been looking great. But Vish, how are you doing? How was watching the Niners and Seahawks game this past weekend?
Yeah, that one. Why do you got to go there? That was a real rough watch, but
Yeah.
um, I've been doing pretty well. I've been hanging in there. I know that we said that our streaming schedule was gonna be Monday, Friday, but I think that we're kind of going towards a Tuesday, Friday setup just because the Monday with Monday Night Football felt like it was a little bit too much of a clash, especially because like we want to watch the Monday night game. So Tuesday, Friday from now on is gonna be kind of the deal in the schedule. But yeah, we got a lot to talk about today. I'm excited to talk about all the rookie quarterbacks looked real good this week, which is funny because last week, after week 3, they did not look so good, and now they all looked
Mhm.
fantastic. So I think we're going to be going through that up and down all season, but it'll be interesting to see, and it's going to be fun to talk about because they're really talented.
Definitely. And we can get to the first one who I would say this was his best game. His other best game was the Panthers game week 1. We're in the second half because the Broncos game and the Patriots game for Zach Wilson were no way of sugarcoating it. They were pretty brutal. He did not look the best against really good defenses and defensive mind coaches. So that's understandable. But against the Titans, who don't have the talent as the Broncos and Patriots do on the defensive side, and Panthers, looked a lot better. But what were your initial thoughts of Zach Wilson in this game? How do you think he did, just in general?
I thought the banner sums it up perfect. He was terrific. I think it's interesting because the Jets, they compete. They compete in every game. That's a testament to Robert Saleh, but they're not a really good team. All those injuries are coming back to bite them. Not having Lamarcus Joyner and Carl Lawson and guys they expected to contribute. Jared Davis, this season, not having those guys, it's rough. It's There's no two ways of saying it. It's brutal for the Jets. They're less talented than every team they play. I think they're maybe the least talented team in the NFL. And so it's really tough when they play really good defenses like they have the last 2 weeks for Zach Wilson because there's a lot he has to do for the Jets to be effective. And I don't think the offensive coordinator, I don't think Mike LaFleur has done that great of a job in terms of their pass concepts. I think there's been a lot of situations where you have receivers running the same routes, you have receivers in the same spot, which is a little Greg Roman-ish. So I don't know exactly what's going wrong there, but definitely something that has to be cleaned up for him. But he was more or less terrific against the Titans. I mean, he showed every reason why he was the number 2 pick in the draft, which is awesome. I mean, the first pick he threw early in that game to he threw to Janoris Jenkins, I believe. When Corey Davis fell down, I think Janoris Jenkins probably intercepts that even if Corey Davis doesn't fall down. It felt like it was just a bad decision. He was going to throw that ball no matter what, and Janoris Jenkins was sitting on the little drift route that they were running, so that was interesting. But if you after that pick, if you go look at how he played, I mean, he was unbelievable. He was moving around. He looked athletic. He played well from the pocket. His throwing is obviously unbelievable, and he made a couple of throws that were just taking your breath away. I mean, the throw to Corey Davis, the touchdown it was Aaron Rodgers esque, and then the one on the sideline in overtime, that one to
Yeah.
Keelan Cole, I think, was unreal.
Yep.
He's absolutely. I know you and I really liked him before the draft. I feel like every time we talk about him, we mention that, and it's been a rough start for him because of obviously how under talented they have been and how rough it is to put for a rookie quarterback to play Vic Fangio and Bill Belichick in 2 of your first 3 starts. That's brutal. But the fact that he's taken all these hits and he's able to kind of bounce back and play a game like that, if you're a Jets fan, you should be excited because he was outstanding. I think that win is more impressive for them as a team and for him as a quarterback, because I feel like he has to play like that for the Jets to even compete in games. And they won that game really because their quarterback played unbelievable football, which is really cool to see because that's how he's going to have to play for the Jets to win even 3, 4 games this year because I don't think they're more talent. I think they're, again, the least talented roster in the league.
Yeah, so I more or less he had a terrific game. Like same not the same thought process as you on that. He was phenomenal. I think it just goes to show the difference between playing this Titans defense and playing probably 3 top 10 defenses. At minimum 2. I would say the Patriots, the Broncos, and the Panthers thus far have looked like top 10, top 12 defenses, really good. Titans are not there, clearly. You can just compare from the game to game. But I really think the last point you made was the best point in that. The only way this Jets team is going to win is if Zach Wilson carries them there. As of right now, this running game is averaging 3.5 yards a carry throughout the whole season. 3.5 yards a carry. So they're getting pretty much nothing on the ground. It's all coming from him. And even this pass game, it wasn't coming from manufactured yards from, Jameson Crowder, Corey Davis breaking tackles, or really good design. It's coming from he's throwing a bomb to Keelan Cole because he's out of the pocket. He's throwing a bomb to Corey Davis 60-something yards downfield because he's out of the pocket. He's throwing it on the sideline to Keelan Cole again in overtime because, well, there's no other way to get yards besides he has to put it on the money. And that's just I think that's asking probably too much from any rookie quarterback, especially one where they don't have the talent to kind of, pick up some of the slack from. He has to be perfect. But just in general, I'd say the only really negative, you mentioned the interception, there was that. And then just other times of sort of short arming passes. I don't know. Maybe it's just me who noticed this, but I feel like there's times where he rushes his throw or something, and it was very noticeable in overtime in the red zone. He threw it to the tight end, and it landed before his feet, and he would have walked in for a touchdown. I feel like that's happened a few times that during the game and just in other games too. So I don't know what the issue is there, but I feel like that's really the only negative you could say about the past game because otherwise he was phenomenal, on time, accurate, and his pocket presence and mobility, I think, has been some of the best among the rookie quarterbacks. I'd say Mac Jones has probably been the best, just maneuvering in the pocket, but Wilson's has been up there, reading blitzes and actually moving around. So overall, I thought he was great against the Titans, and I want to say they play the Falcons next week or a team that also doesn't have – yes, they play the Falcons. So this should be another test to see, okay, like, was this a one-off game? Or if he's not facing a vaunted defense, is he going to actually be able to, move the ball and, potentially win? So that is exciting to see.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you just said, and we're thinking along the same lines. And I think what you mentioned really about his mobility and his pocket presence, I think that stood out through 4 games. He's moved pretty well in the pocket. He's very athletic, and he's made a lot of plays where I just sit back and go, "Geez, like wow!" And I think that's the most important thing, honestly, because a lot of it with him is gonna look ugly because there's things he has to polish in his game, and then he's just not put in a great opportunity where you can succeed in terms of statistics. Like there aren't a lot of easy, just wide open throws. Like just give him easy yards, easy completions for them in their offense. It's all he has to do a lot for them to move the ball down the field. Uh, Not just him, Trevor Lawrence, I think, is in the same boat. And that's where I think if you look at the stats of both Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson, you would think that both of those guys are having a very poor rookie season. But if you actually go and watch them play, I'm not saying that they're playing great or they're playing really well or playing at the level Herbert was playing last year, but they're playing pretty well where you think that if you put them in a better situation, they could look very, very good. Again, I'm not saying it's going to be like Herbert or Dak Prescott's rookie season, but I think it could look a little bit better. It's just those situations are just real difficult for rookie quarterbacks to handle.
And I think it goes to show, I know we brought this up last time, just how impressive last year's rookies were considering that they were rookies and comparing them to this class. And people thought these guys who just got drafted were better prospects for the most part than Herbert and Tua. I know Burrow was one and was looked at as a great prospect, but there was question marks about Tua and Herbert and Burrow for that matter. And I feel like they really showed out in their rookie years compared to these guys. Now situations are definitely different, but I feel like you couldn't really argue that the Bengals isn't the best situation, or even the Dolphins with the weapons they had last year. So I don't know if those teams were as breadth of talent as these are, the Jets and the Jaguars mainly, but there is an argument to say what they did just is amplified by how impressive they were as rookies.
Yeah, and the other thing I wanted to mention is if you remember you when you were discussing, I actually forgot this, so I just wanted to go back to it real quick because I do agree with your point about the 2019 rookies, but also you were just talking about him short arming balls. Um,
Mm.
he did have a throw right to end this game in basically he would have ended it in regulation. That 3rd and 8, I think it was 3rd and 8 or 3rd and 10 maybe. He had Corey Davis on an out route and he threw it on time and he just amped it up and overshot it and it's Corey Davis
Mhm.
wide open. You got to hit that ball. That's a no-brainer. You
Yes.
got to hit it. So I didn't think he short on that ball, but I did think that was just a situation of just him like finally feeling that a little bit of comfortability and just saying, "Oh, I'm just gonna rip this thing in there," and just overshooting it because he was maybe a little too amped that he felt they were gonna win the game on the spot. But the fact that he was able to then come back, settle himself, take them on the drive in overtime, kick the field goal was all really impressive. And like you mentioned, right, they're not Burrow and Herbert were a little bit different. And I think the thing that separated Burrow was he was just a lot more polished than a lot of these guys
Yes.
coming out. I think Mac Jones maybe is in the same conversation in terms of how polished he is to Joe Burrow, but then Joe Burrow was also a higher level athlete and playmaker than Mac Jones is, especially
Yes.
outside of structure. Like Joe Burrow had a real knack to make plays outside of structure, and we're seeing him as he gains confidence, getting that knack back. So to me, it's really interesting to see that. And um, Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence certainly do have the talent, maybe to be as good as Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert, maybe eventually. But right now, they're definitely not there at that point yet. And I think it just again goes back to show how impressive Burrow and Herbert were last year because these two guys are playing pretty well, and I'm interested to see how the rest of the season goes for Zach Wilson because uh, again, he's in a tough spot, and they don't exactly play the easiest schedule. They're gonna have to play some tough teams, and he's gonna have some more ugly games. But games like that yesterday, when he gets a real opportunity and a little bit of time and a little bit of help, shows you that he has the ability to be a special quarterback one day.
Yeah, you hope to run into defenses like the Titans and hope to not run into defenses like the Patriots and the Broncos, but he'll face both of those or similarly throughout the year, so we will see as he progresses. Moving on though to someone who we mentioned, Zach Wilson looked terrific. This guy looks a little bit better than terrific. Kyler Murray, he's looked unstoppable this year so far, and 4-0 for the Cardinals. I want to say top of the NFC West. Just looking like a powerhouse. I know we were both a little down on the Cardinals compared to the rest of the NFC West, and so far we're wrong on that. It's only 4 weeks in, but still. So what are your thoughts on Kyler this year, Vish?
Yeah, so we were definitely down in Arizona, and we did acknowledge how much talent they have on both sides of the ball, but we were just thinking that Cliff Kingsbury just couldn't pull it off with this roster, and we were 100% wrong
Yeah.
because Arizona's trending towards being maybe the number one seed in the NFC. They look like a complete football team. Their front seven is serious. We had questions about their corners. Byron Murphy is playing great. He's getting his
Mhm.
hands on the ball. I think he's intercepting a pass a game, it feels like. Buda Baker is
Mhm.
obviously unbelievable. He's always been unbelievable. And their front seven is fantastic with Chandler Jones and JJ Watts playing big time football and Isaiah Simmons looks good and all of that. So Arizona is definitely a good team on defense. Vance Joseph is a really good defensive coordinator, but their offense is really what's crazy to me. It's unstoppable. it starts off, obviously, they have I wore my Oklahoma sweatshirt. I'm a big Kyler Murray fan, but, they he's unbelievable. He is I think maybe what Michael Vick could have become if he became more polished. I mean, he's the fastest player on the football field. He plays with an easy athleticism, easy confidence. He has an unbelievably quick release. He's so accurate. He has a really strong arm, and I think he's playing a lot better from the pocket than what we saw his first 2 years. I mean, we're seeing really, really good decisions. We're seeing him not miss people in the progression or pass up throws over the middle of the field. It's actually unbelievable how he's playing from the pocket. I mean, the throw to Max Williams from the touchdown
Mhm.
against the Rams, over the seam. The backside safety is basically starting from the hash, so he's like 3 yards from the ball. For him to throw that ball with that much anticipation and pace and get it up and down layered and fit it in Max Williams' chest before Jordan Fuller can get there is unbelievable. Kyler Murray really is. He's an unbelievable athlete. He's an unbelievable talent, and he's showing out. He's probably the MVP of football. Arizona's offense is unstoppable. Chase Edmonds is excellent. Rondale Moore is really good. DeAndre Hopkins hasn't even gone like super crazy this season
Mhm.
because he hasn't had to because they've had great contributions from AJ Green. Christian Kirk is still consistently solid. It's just a really stacked offense. They spread you out and put stress on the defense, and then they have the one guy that nobody can account for. I mean, I'm seeing people spy him. I'm seeing people have the angle on him, and he's making people look silly. That little hesitation that he gives before he
Mhm.
reaccelerates is unstoppable. And then his throwing ability, it's just unreal. It was unreal in college, and it was really good. It's been very good his entire time in the NFL, besides uh, the few games last season when he hurt his left shoulder. But you add that in with now that he's seeing the field better and he's progressing and processing the game much better, going through his progressions much better. It's really unstoppable. I don't see anything stopping Kyler Murray. I think that, every year the third year quarterback kind of takes the leap. Or Josh, every year we get one quarterback that goes from we knew he was really talented and really good to like, okay, he's one of the 4 or 5 best guys in the NFL. It was Josh Allen last year. It was Lamar the year before, Mahomes the year before that. I think this year it's Kyler Murray and Herbert. I think those two guys are going
Yep.
to be in the top five. And I think that, I think Kyler Murray, honestly, we did our NFC West division QB rankings, and I had them ranked Wilson, Murray second, and I had Murray just a hair over Stafford because of his running, Stafford third, and then Garoppolo Lance fourth. Honestly, I think Murray's the best quarterback in the NFC West now. I think
Mm.
Murray's better than Russell Wilson now.
Really, what's changed from then to now? Is it
I just think
more
Murray has
about
more
flavor
juice. I think it's just Murray has more juice. And then I still see Russell Wilson passing up throws in the progression and passing up easy completions that are there. I just think Kyler is playing on with way more control and command than Russell Wilson at this
than
point. I think the other thing for Russell Wilson, obviously, is that he is in a new offense and he's still adjusting to that. But I don't know. Maybe it's the fact that Kyler has a little better offensive line. They're protecting him well. The acquisition of Rodney Hudson was huge for them. But I mean, I don't think at this point it's a hot take to say, but I think he's the best quarterback in the NFC West.
Mhm.
And that's no
Interesting.
disrespect to Russell Wilson, who's unreal.
Yeah, of course, with all due respect to Russell, Fish thinks
With all
Kyler is
due
better.
respect.
Yeah. So, yeah, kind of on a similar note to you, I also, gun to my head right now, I would take Kyler as the MVP. And I think a couple of the main reasons just from the past few games. Now, I know we mentioned his supporting cast. I feel like like they have like four pretty solid. They have one great, amazing, one of the best receivers in the game, and then they have three guys: AJ Green, Kirk, and Rondale, who are solid. I don't think any of them are like a dominant number two. Tight ends, I don't think Max Williams is great. Running backs, Chase Edmonds, he's really, really great receiving back fast. James Conner is kind of the bigger, goal line guy, and he's been kind of popping off on the goal line scoring. But I feel like individually, most of these guys aren't that special. Like, I feel like Kyler Murray combined with them is what makes this offense so special. And it's not because they're bad. Like, I don't think AJ Green is bad. I don't think Rondell Moore is bad. But having Kyler with just a ton of solid guys is way too much for a defense. Just way too much. And his escapability from the pocket kind of negates not having the best O line. I feel like Aaron Donald, it didn't matter if he got back there because Kyler is too quick now. He is just too fast for him. I know you mentioned the hesitation move on the linebacker where he slowed down and then just accelerated past him. I want to say it was like 3rd and 15 that he did that on, and he ran for the first down. I don't know if there's any other quarterbacks in the league besides maybe Lamar that can do that. So
The 3rd and 16, yeah.
yeah, I mean, really just the way I view it is he is just carrying this team. Now, I'm not saying that they're not talented, these other guys, these running backs, these receivers, but if you took Chase Edmonds and put him on the Ravens, would that solve their running back crisis? I don't
No.
think it would. If you did that with James Conner, no. If you put Rondale Moore or like AJ Green on the Packers, would that solve their number 2? No. I just think they have a ton of just solid guys, but with Kyler Murray, it is just an engine that is just nonstop, and it is a great, great offense. And their offense is winning them games. Kingsbury's kind of proved us wrong in the fact that
Yeah, he's looking good.
we weren't entirely sold on him yet. We wanted to kind of see it. Well, guess what? Through the first 4 weeks right now, we have seen it and then some because they've been fantastic.
Yeah, and he's done a really good job with their offense. They've been a lot more creative in the run game than they have been in past. They've been able to spring running back runs and have success running the football that way. They've been a more physical football team. They actually might be the most physical football team in the NFL. That team is fast and it hits. And so there's a lot of things about Kingsbury that we were just wrong about right now. Through 4 weeks, it just looks like the things that we originally thought are just wrong. And I 100% agree with what you're saying, and I 100% get what you're saying. Rondale Moore, AJ Green, Chase Edmonds, it's a really talented supporting cast when you have Kyler Murray in this offense.
Yeah.
And they're not this super talented, crazy talented offensive skill in terms of skill guys in other situations. But in this offense, with this quarterback and the skill set he has to maximize the things they do best, it's
Exactly.
unbelievable. Like Chase Edmonds is a really, really special receiving back out of the backfield, and Kyler Murray, utilizes it. And then I just wanted to re-highlight the 3rd and 16 play you brought up. That play was unbelievable. That I feel like that was the play that the Rams just threw their hands up. Like, what are we supposed to do? You call the
Yeah.
perfect defense. You're in the right coverage. You have a guy spying Kyler Murray and Kenny Young who's pretty fast, and
Yeah.
Kyler Murray just embarrasses him in the open field, gets to the sideline, and then he gets the 16 yards. It felt like in half a second he traveled 16 yards, walks out of bounds, and he's got the ball palmed in one hand, a little Michael Vick style. It's just unfair at this moment. And I think the biggest thing is going to be, will he get beaten up this year the way he did last year? Because he's looked special from the moment he's come into the NFL. He was special in 2019 as a rookie. He was special for a lot of last year before he got that left shoulder banged up on Thursday night against Seattle. And this season, it's not just he's been beyond special. He's taken that next step as a quarterback, and he looks like one of the top. Again, I said he was better than Russell Wilson now. He looks like a top 5 guy in the NFL. There's no doubt about it. He's with Mahomes and Rodgers and those guys. So to me, the biggest question is, will he be able to play all 17 games without, getting a little bit banged up or beaten up? Because if he is, then I think Arizona can beat anybody, because there's nothing you can do at this point to account for what he does, because he is such a special runner and such a special thrower.
And I think they kind of just emphasized how good they were because the Rams have been hyped up, right? They they play Tampa, they whoop on them. Everyone's getting hype. Stafford this, Stafford that. Rams are back, and the Cardinals they blew them out. It really wasn't particularly close, and they dropped over 30 on this defense that has the Donald and Ramsey, and they have a good scheme and they have all this, but it just didn't matter. It didn't matter. And a defense that shut down Tom and co. just got destroyed by Kyler and Kingsbury.
Yeah, and then the other thing is, we've talked about Kyler, and obviously Kyler is looking special. I touched on the defense at the beginning. Vance Joseph gets them ready to play, and Vance Joseph is a really, really good defensive coordinator. He's really good at game planning, especially for the Shanahan-McVay offense. It felt like watching that game. I was watching it simultaneously with the Niners games, and I felt like this at other times, but Arizona hasn't had the talent maybe to pull it off fully on defense. Now they have that talent. It felt like the Cardinals were sitting on all the Rams staple concepts. It felt like they knew how to play Cooper Kupp. They were getting physical with Cooper Kupp, which is the best way to guard Cooper Kupp. And so it felt like they were all over what the Rams wanted to do offensively, and that's a testament to Vance Joseph getting them prepared to play. And they did a really good job with all aspects of that offense, and it's a really high-powered offense. Like, I don't think that Sunday's game changed anything I think about the Rams. I still think the Rams are one of the best teams in the NFC. There's no doubt about it. It just gave me
Mhm.
greater conviction that Arizona is a special football team too. And it makes me worried as a Niners fan looking at this division and the fact that the I watched the Niners Seattle game and I didn't think Seattle looked very good, especially on defense. My biggest takeaway from that game was, wow, Seattle's not very good, and the Niners were down 28-13 with 4 minutes left in the ball game. So that's a topic for another day, obviously. But yeah, Arizona looks very good, and Kyler Murray, he's unreal.
Definitely. And I mean, you kind of mentioned it already, but 49ers did not look strong against the Seahawks, down 28-13. Offense couldn't get it going. Defense looked really good in the first half, allowed some points in the second half, but I'd say overall, it seemed to me like the defense was really solid for the 49ers. But we got a little bit of a taste of Trey Lance in the second half for the full half. Jimmy got injured. It's a calf bruise, I want to say, is the official term. Um,
Yeah.
Official injury, but it seems kind of up in the air what exactly that means and all that, and how long he'll be out. So, still just kind of unknown variable there with Jimmy G. But what did you think of Lance? And do you think he did enough, improved enough to show that he deserves to start moving forward for the 2-2 49ers?
So, obviously, it's still up in the air, right? And there's a good chance if Jimmy G's calf contusion, as they called it, is good to go, that he's starting on Sunday.
Mm,
But I think there's two things you have to point out before you have this conversation. First things first, it's really difficult to judge Trey Lance based on Sunday. He was thrown into the middle of a division game when it was 7-7 at half without the team really having a plan for what they wanted to do to play him.
mm,
And so it's really difficult to really judge and get an opinion of what we saw, because I would like to see one game where, they go through the entire process of game planning with him the entire week and have a plan and see how he does executing that
mhm,
plan. Number two, and I think this is also important to mention, the Niners' offense is putrid. It is not good. They have not been good through 4 weeks. Outside of one great half versus Detroit, they've struggled. And it's not like they've struggled against great defenses. Philly's
mhm,
defense, I think Dallas and Kansas City proved that Philly's defense is not this elite, vaunted, staunch defense that, you just have to throw screens up and down to move the ball. If you have a good quarterback, and the Niners do have weapons. Debo Samuel and George Kittle are two guys where if you have two weapons like that and a left tackle like Trent Williams, you should be a little better on offense than they are. That's one. And so they're not a very good offense right now. There's no other way to say it. And it's not really all Jimmy Garoppolo's fault, honestly. To me, Jimmy Garoppolo has played very, very average football, which is what he is. He's played up to what he played in 2019 when the Niners won 13 games. It's just that they've not been as good around him in terms of how they've run the football, and they've not played defense at that level, though their defense has been very good. So those are the two things I think first you need to mention. So should Trey Lance start moving forward? I think you and I were on the wave that Trey Lance should start week one. We didn't feel that the 49ers were a Super Bowl team with Jimmy Garoppolo under center before week one. That's why we felt that Trey Lance should start and they should just grow and see how far they can go. I think we actually had this conversation in like July where we said that it's better to go, 8-9 or 9-8 with Trey Lance than it is to go 10-7 with Garoppolo, because really the roster is going to be turned over in 2022. And the question is, how much can you get better around Trey Lance in 2022? In terms of Trey Lance's start or play, I don't think that his play showed you that, he should 100% start over Garoppolo. I think his play made me feel comfortable thinking that if he started, I mean, you would have go through a lot of ups and downs. I was making a joke on Grant's show, like everybody calls it growing pains that you're going to have to go through with Trey Lance, but as a Niners fan, I'm going through growing pains with Jimmy Garoppolo every week. So I don't know what else to say, but I do think they have to go with Trey Lance. There was a lot of rawness. There was definitely he didn't play a perfect game from the pocket. He didn't always, he felt phantom, especially early when he started. That third quarter was real ugly. He settled
Yeah.
into the game and played a lot better in that fourth quarter. That third quarter was ugly. I mean, you look at the miss to Kittle in the flat on the bootleg that threw that straight into the ground. That was disgusting. You can't miss that throw. He felt phantom pressure a couple times and just ran out of the pocket when there were receivers there in the progression. You just got to step up and let it rip. That was not the best. And then, of course, the touchdown throw to Deebo Samuel. I'm glad he made the throw. And I was joking about it on Twitter saying, since he was the one who made the throw, he's the only quarterback who can make that throw. But every quarterback in the NFL can make that throw because it was a 30-yard throw, was busted coverage. He didn't even Deebo just stopped, waited, and he threw the ball. He caught it, and Deebo ran for the touchdown. Really nice play, though, for him to throw it to him. No doubt about it. But then you got to the fourth quarter and you saw that he started getting better and he started adapting to his surroundings and playing better. He started feeling pressure better. He showed his athleticism. I mean, he had an ugly play where he, on 3rd and 8, he ran for what could have been a first down and he dived 2 yards short of the first down. So he had a lot of really bad plays mixed in there where it was like, what are you doing? And then he settled in. And then, 4th and 2, he's got Carlos Dunlap in his face. The where he wants to go with the ball to the flat is taken away. He makes Carlos Dunlap miss, and he throws a nice ball to Deebo and gets a first down. He threw a nice ball in rhythm on time to Mo Sanu on 4th and 5. He had a couple of really nice runs that showed great agility. He did a really good job escaping pressure a couple of times. And that fourth quarter made me think, well, okay, this offense isn't very good. Garoppolo only executes 75%, 80% of this offense anyway. And Lance, obviously, even though he wasn't executing at a high level, it wasn't like he was, especially in the fourth quarter, he was executing in a way that you should be in any means like just worried where he can't do anything. If you game plan for him for a week and whatever, you can protect him a lot better. And then the athleticism looked real. He looked real explosive moving around and he looked agile at his height and weight too with his speed. So to me, I think they're better off going through those growing pains with him this year because I think they'll just help them in the long run, honestly.
Yeah, so I'm more or less on the same side. I think there's, at least from what I've gathered with Niners Twitter, Niners media, Niners fans, there's kind of like three layers to this. One, start Trey now, cut Jimmy, or just don't care, just get Trey. Other people is kind of like Jimmy should start, let Trey sit on the bench, and the other side's the middle is just like, I don't know what to think of this. Like, you guys are both crazy extremists on both sides. I'm more on the side of the Trey Lance, similar to you. Like, just get him in. You might as well play him at this point. You traded up a lot to get him. Let's see what he has. And I think you mentioned it. Third quarter, I don't want to be like mean or anything or be too blunt, but I just didn't think he looked great. He looked really, really raw. It seemed like any time there was an even bit of pressure, he was just, his head was down and he would either run or try to escape the pocket, which is usually not what you're supposed to do. You want to keep your eyes down the field and all of that. So that was worrying. I think you mentioned his athleticism looked real. It definitely did. I thought the 4th and 10 run in the fourth quarter, or it was 4th and long, right? He ran it and picked up the first downs through scrambling, which you just don't get that element with Jimmy G. And that is something that I think it opens up doors that you would not have otherwise. And if you're already going to have issues with Jimmy, like you mentioned, there's misses on throws. Well, Lance is going to miss throws too. He bombed that one slant route, I want to say to either Deebo or Sanu. He bombed that. He threw the ball in the dirt to Kittle. So he's going to miss throws. Jimmy misses throws too, though. And I don't think that is an unfair take at this point. You mentioned growing pains with Jimmy. Well, that still exists, and that will exist. With Trey Lance, though, you'll have pains, right? You'll have the moments where he maybe ducks his head down too low and tries to run early, or sails a pass because he has a rocket arm, or doesn't throw with touch, and someone has to make a tough catch. But with all those issues, you have the ability to put pressure on defense with running, with the read option, with scrambling, that you just don't have with Jimmy. And I think now, I don't know how long Trent Williams is out, but the O-line is
He's day to day.
day to day. Okay, well, that's still concerning. And the O-line pass protection, the right guard specifically, I don't think Brunskill's pass protection has been the best. You could tell me if I'm wrong there. And then McGlinchey's pass
No,
protection has always been sort of
a
his
little
biggest
bit.
downfall.
Hmm.
And we saw that again. So having a guy that's more mobile will also, in ways, help with that and being able to, kind of dodge people or just run around, kind of evade the pass rush. So I think all those combined, and you have Trey Lance, I'm putting him over Jimmy. And then the final point, which I think sums it up, is they're not going to win the Super Bowl this year. It's just not going to happen. You either have to have a really, really good offense and a good defense, or a great defense and a really, really good offense. I don't think
Hmm.
they have a great either. I don't think they have a
Yeah.
good either. I'd say
I
they
mean,
have a
we
good
saw.
defense. They have a
No,
good.
let's be honest. They have a really good defense actually, but we
They
saw
do.
that this defense is no longer good enough to carry them against great quarterbacks. And we saw the last two games. They lost to a great Hall of Fame quarterback in Aaron Rodgers and a great Hall of Fame quarterback in Russell Wilson. And why? It was because their offense couldn't do anything against a defense in Green Bay that really, I mean, the
It was
stats
not
in
that
Green Bay are
good.
looking a lot better now after playing the Niners offense and the Steelers offense, two bad offenses. But it wasn't looking too good when they played the Lions. It definitely didn't look good against Jameis Winston and the Saints week one. It looked like they
Mhm.
had a lot of issues on defense. And then you look at the same thing. Seattle was historically bad through 3 weeks. They come in, they play the Niners offense, and the Niners offense, while they were kicking their butts for the first part of their game, they had only 7 points to show, and the Niners defense had five straight 3-and-outs against Russell Wilson. And then eventually the Niners offense also began to struggle to make things happen. So there's no doubt about it that this offense, it's just not at the level where this defense is no longer at the level where it can just single-handedly take this team over the top when you're playing a Russell Wilson and an Aaron Rodgers, where they just suffocate that quarterback. And this offense is just not playing well. It's not a good offense at this moment.
No, it's not. And I think that's something that I'm honestly shocked at, because I think we're both pretty big Shanahan fans, think he's a really good play caller and all of that. They have Ayuk, who looked great last year. Debo is back and healthy. He's leading the league in receiving yards. Kittle's been a little bit banged up, but he's still better than not having him. So it's just shocking that their offense has been as inept or just not as strong and powerful as we would have hoped. And they upgraded. They brought Alex Mack in. They drafted an O lineman in the second, drafted a running back in the third. I know their running back room is really hurting right now, but still, I think it is a surprise to both you and I that their offense has looked as not good as we thought it would be.
Yeah, we thought, maybe Shanahan could just cook it up no matter what. I mean, he's kind of still cooking it up, but it's definitely not just open receivers everywhere running up and down the field. And a lot of it is because they just haven't been able to get the run game going consistently.
Yeah.
But I mean, the loss of Raheem Mostert hurts, but it it shouldn't be this difficult for them to run the football, definitely. But yeah, this offense, it's not very good at this moment. There's no doubt about it, and it's a little bit shocking, but it's just a reality. Brandon Ayuk has 6 catches this season. We thought he looked very good as a rookie. He's just not gotten involved. This offense and George Kittle's hurt. I mean, I know he's still going to play through the injury, but you can see that it's clearly slowing him down. He's essentially just playing on one leg. This offense really at this moment is just Debo or bust. Debo is their best option in the run game and the pass game. Though Trey Sermon looked promising on
Mhm.
Sunday, he looked exactly like the running back I thought they were drafting. Though I questioned the trade up, which again leads me to wonder how Elijah Mitchell was playing over him in the first place. But that's a topic for another day.
Definitely. So basically, to wrap it up, Vish and I are saying start Trey Lance. They can't win the Super Bowl this year, although the faithful want them to. Get Trey Lance the reps now, so that way in 2022, 2023, when
He's
he's
maybe
certified,
Kyler Murray then.
maybe Josh Allen. That's who people wanted. That was a popular comparison for him um, in the offseason. But we can move on now. That was Trey Lance. Now we got to get to the other rookie who, not his debut, but it was significantly better than his debut. There was not 9 sacks on Justin Fields. He got to play the vaunted Dan Campbell Lions defense. and looked a lot better. Gus Johnson was calling the game, so you know it was going to be exciting if you were listening to the
With
broadcast.
Aqib Talib.
And it was. It was a great called game. I mean, Gus Johnson should broadcast every game if that was possible because he's so exciting. But looked good. Vish, what were your overall thoughts on his performance against the Lions?
So this is just a little bit. This is exactly why I wanted to refrain from judgment on Trey Lance in that brief cameo. Because when you have the right game plan for a quarterback that really highlights his skill set and the things we know he can do well, he could play like this and be very exciting. And I want to just wait and reserve my judgment until Trey Lance gets that opportunity. But Matt Nagy finally handed over the play calling to Bill Lazor. Remember Bill Lazor last year when he called plays, Mitchell Trubisky, they ran kind of a bootleg, if you will, version of the McVay offense with a ton of bootlegs, ran wide zone with David Montgomery, had Trubisky under center, and Trubisky looked quite good, honestly. He looked like a starting NFL quarterback for the last 4 or 5 games of last season, playing like that. Finally, he handed over the play calling, and instead of running random RPOs and just random stuff in the quick game, which we knew Justin Fields wasn't good in the quick game before the draft. He has a slow release, and he's not that accurate in the short intermediate in terms of being able to throw in the quick game. Like we saw these issues at Ohio State. You compound that with the fact that they didn't have a real good plan to block Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney. You had what you saw in Justin Fields' debut. They changed it up. They put him under center. They ran bootlegs. They had him under center. They ran the football well with David Montgomery. They had play action with deeper routes down the field, and we know that Justin Fields has a strong arm and is a special, accurate down the field thrower. And we got to see that accuracy. We saw the ball to Mooney. We saw both balls to Mooney, the one over the middle of the field, and then the one on the sideline on just a straight go ball. We saw the one to Allen Robinson off play action that was like a 30-yard laser over in between two defenders on the sideline. We saw the special throwing ability. We saw the athleticism. We saw every reason why the Bears traded up to draft him and why I liked him a lot before the draft. I wanted the 49ers to draft him. I thought he looked fantastic. And I think I know Matt Nagy said Andy Dalton's our quarterback one. But I think if Bill Lazor continues to call the plays and they play with this plan, their defense is still playing really solid. It's still a good defense. It's going to be in the above. It's going to be in the top half of the league. It'll be in the top 16 defenses in the NFL. So you add that in, and you're able to run the ball. I know losing David Montgomery, and then you have him making plays off play action down the field, throws that Andy Dalton could never make. The Bears have a real formula for success, even with Justin Fields as a rookie. Now, they did play the Lions, and the Lions were putrid in the red zone in this game. It feels like putrid's my word of the day, but I'm just going with it. They were terrible in the red zone. It felt like they were moving the ball consistently on this Bears defense and just making poor decisions in the red zone, whether it was Robert Quinn getting a sack fumble or, and stuff like that. It was just things were going wrong in terms of execution errors for the Lions in the red zone. So that does have to be taken into context. But still, Justin Fields looked terrific. The Bears offensive line protected him better. But given that the Lions don't have much of a pass rush, I'm excited to see how it goes moving forward. But with this plan and some of the throws he was making, I don't care if he was playing the Lions. Like some of those throws were indefensible, just the way he was throwing them down the field. So yeah, his athleticism, his downfield accuracy, the two hallmarks of him coming out in the draft, they were on full display on Sunday, and I'm excited to see how it looks going forward. But Bill Lazor needs to continue to call the plays, and they need to have this sort of game plan with him.
Interesting. So I kind of had the first thing. I thought it was funny how they didn't mention Nagy didn't mention in his presser that Bill Lazor took over the play calling. It wasn't talked about. And then after the game, Justin Fields in his presser said that Bill Lazor called the plays. And that's when I think a lot of people were being like, oh, that maybe that's why he looked a lot better. Maybe that's why he was under center as opposed to being in shotgun the whole time. And then just one thing on Bill Lazor real quickly. You mentioned that he came in for Trubisky last year or started taking over play calling for Trubisky last year, did something similar, and it looked a lot better. Bill Lazor was the OC of the Bengals in 2017 and 2018. And I remember this vividly because through the first 3 weeks, they just didn't move the ball. They didn't score. They were horrendous. And I just more of a sidebar on how I think it's funny how after going on the Bengals and being just not able to move the ball, not able to score. On the Bears, he's just so much better. And I don't know, maybe it's personnel, maybe it's quarterbacking. I don't know. Maybe he learned, but he's been significantly better than his past self and seems to be significantly better than Nagy at the play calling situation. So hopefully they stick with that. Don't really know though. It is the Bears, and Nagy might just try to take over again, but we will see. But on to Justin Fields, I was going to mention the same thing. They were under center a lot more. They ran the ball really, really well. David Montgomery was good, breaking tackles and all that. And then Damian Williams, playoff Dame, came in for a little bit too. He looked solid, as he always does. So that was great. And I know they're going to be without Montgomery. I don't think they should really have a drop off because Damian Williams is more than capable. They won't get to play the Lions every week, but still. And then you mentioned the indefensible throws, a couple to Mooney, and then the one to Robinson. Like that is why he was taken where he was. Those are really, really difficult throws. You have to have a big arm. You have to be deadly accurate on long passes. And he was both of those. I don't really think you can complain about any of those throws. And his first throw, too, was the one to Mooney off of play action. It was on the side, and he overthrew it, and Mooney made a great catch. But after that, he settled in and really just – he was awesome, I think, is the overall terms. We also got to see a little bit more of his running ability. It was a third down, and he did what Kyler does. He did a little hesitation on one of the, I want to say, defensive backs of the Lions and was able to run around him and then pick up extra yards for the first. So it was awesome to see that as well. So I think overall, if you're a Bears fan, you are very, very encouraged by this performance, as it was just really not but yeah, I really think that is a good one for him. Sorry.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm excited to see how it looks moving forward because I think if they follow this plan, he can be really successful because his down the field accuracy, it's really, really, really good. And obviously he's a hell of an athlete, and his speed, size, and strength and all of that just stands out every time he plays. He plays with a ton of confidence. He has great poise. Sometimes he can be a little bit oblivious to pressure in the pocket, but that's also it's it's a double-edged sword because again, it's a hallmark of his toughness too. So it goes a little bit both ways. We talked about a little bit when he was coming out, but I'm excited to see how things work out for Justin Fields throughout this season, and I'll be watching closely.
Definitely. So that was all the quarterback talk. I know that's been something we've done just a lot this year because there's so many good ones and there's so many rookies that were taken in the first round that we're unlikely to see that again. So I want to just talk about it while it's fresh, while it's new, while it is exciting. And then another rookie that we want to talk about is someone who Vish and I were a little down on. We thought he was maybe a little overhyped, not a generational prospect as a lot of people said he was. Taken fifth to the Bengals. We also criticized that move a little bit. I thought it should have been Penei Sewell. You kind of thought the same.
Yeah.
But Vish, what are your overall thoughts on Chase so far, and why were we wrong? It shouldn't say Vish. Yes, it should say Blake and Vish. We're wrong about Jamar Chase thus far.
Yeah, we were just flat out wrong about him. I thought the issues, him separating, sometimes issues at the line of scrimmage, and just the fact that I felt like his play style wasn't translatable given the kind of athlete he was and the kind of body frame he had. I mean, a lot of the pro comps for him were guys like Des Bryant, but I didn't feel that he had the same physical attributes as them, especially when it came to arm length and all of that, where he could catch a lot of contested passes in tight windows. And then I felt like the Bengals needed to get an offensive tackle in Sewell to protect Burrow better. I felt like Chase was 100% a top 20 pick, a really good receiver prospect, but I didn't think he was in the Sammy Watkins, AJ Green, Julio Jones tier. Through whatever 4 weeks, it looks like I was wrong on all fronts. Jamar Chase does win. Jamar Chase does create separation. Jamar Chase does win with pure speed on the outside. Jamar Chase is able to use his body. I mean, we knew his play strength was unbelievable. His play strength is unbelievable in the NFL too. NFL corners can't handle his body, especially at the catch point. He has great, strong hands. We were not worried at the one thing we did get right with Jamar Chase is don't freak out about his preseason drops. And
Yeah.
that at least turned out to be true. So, we're batting, 1 for 12 on our Jamar Chase takes. But Jamar Chase looks unbelievable. Him and Joe Burrow's chemistry is really it's special. They have kind of honestly, when I watch it, I don't want to go that far, but I do feel like it's a little bit Aaron Rodgers, Jordy Nelson-esque, where when Burrow throws that ball, it feels like Chase is always going to go get it because it feels like they're just on a different wave. I mean, we talked about it when we were talking about Burrow a couple weeks ago. His arm looks stronger. And it looks like he's throwing the ball, especially the deep ball. He's throwing it easier. I've seen him throw deep balls off 3 steps on half a hitch and stuff, which is not what Burrow was doing last year. His arm strength looked questionable, honestly, to me last year. It was a bottom 5 arm in the NFL last year, if we're being honest. And in spite that, he had a really good rookie season. This year, we're seeing that his arm looks stronger. And as he gains confidence in that knee, and he looked really, really good on Thursday, and we're seeing him get more confident week by week. Um, we're seeing that Burrow looks terrific, and then he's got a guy in Jamar Chase on the outside who just wins. Like teams are going to have to start double covering him and all of that. I thought T. Higgins was going to be the number 1 receiver on this team by the end of the season. I was wrong. I'm 1 for 13 on Jamar Chase takes.
Mhm.
Jamar Chase is the number 1 receiver on this team. He's a baller. He's dominating in the NFL in ways that he really did dominate in college. He's really unstoppable. And we're seeing that. And the Bengals were 100% right so far to take him over Sewell because they haven't had the protection issues that I've expected. They've run the ball a lot better than what we expected. Joe Mixon's finally getting utilized the way Joe Mixon should. But obviously, he got hurt, but he's a special running back, and we're seeing that the Bengals offense, as Burrow gains confidence, is going to get better and better and better.
Definitely. And like just to preface it, like we didn't think he was gonna be good. We didn't think he was a complete bust. We just had him a little lower than maybe consensus or what most people thought. So I guess that would qualify us as disliking him by some people's accounts. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I don't think it is, but whatever. But yeah, I mean, he has been fantastic. And I think the main thing that for me has been the truth is you mentioned it. Their chemistry is real. It is incredible. Should we have expected that? We probably should have from LSU. I mean, they were great there. You could tell they had great connection. Just Burrow being out of the pocket is just dangerous because him and Chase somehow always make a connection when that is the case. But I think another reason why we are wrong is because we were wrong about this Bengals O line. We kind of said, you don't want to have Riley Reef as your guy that you're just you're putting your chips in the middle with him as your tackle. We didn't think Jonah Williams was maybe going to be able to come back after a couple years of injury and be a really solid left tackle. We were wrong on those accounts. Riley Reef and Jonah Williams have been amazing. The Bengals center has been a weak spot. I want to say his name's Hopkins, but I don't think you should quote me on that. But I know their interior line is still maybe not as strong, but the Riley Reef and Williams have been great. And although Sewell would be a really, really good addition to any team because he's also looked fantastic.
It's Trey Hopkins. It is Trey Hopkins. You're absolutely right, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like as great as Sewell would make this O-line or better he'd make this O-line, you can't really argue when what they have out there has been producing at the tackle position. So on that account, like they were completely right in taking Chase, which we thought was a little rich. Where they took him and then taking him over Sewell, we thought would have been an issue. But I mean, overall, that has been a great pick for them. And I think their receiving core is just low key one of the best in the league. You mentioned Chase. We already mentioned T. Higgins. You thought he could have been the number 1 potentially after a strong rookie year, and then this year he's looked better, especially in the offseason. Boyd is a really great slot receiver. I think he's so underappreciated. I know he doesn't, he's not the most athletic guy. He's not the, guy, but I really think he's such an underrated slot guy for them. And as a number 3 receiver, he might be one of the best number 3 receivers in the entire league. I'd put him up there. But you could throw any.
No, yeah,
maybe Buccaneers.
You're right. You're right. He's an elite slot receiver. He's tough. He gets open. He's great in traffic. He's good after the catch. He brings everything you want. Outside of Keenan Allen, I don't know if there's a better guy in the slot. Honestly, I'd have to go back and look than Tyler Boyd. But yeah, Jamar Chase, unbelievable. And you touched on it, right? We thought he was a really good player. Nobody with eyes wouldn't tell you Jamar Chase was a really good player. But we thought taking him in the top 10 was a little bit rich. And I think where he's proven us wrong is it's not just he's proven us right by being a really good player. He's gone above and beyond and through 4 games looked like a generational receiver. He already looks like a top 30 receiver in football, honestly, maybe even higher. It's
Probably higher, yeah.
looking almost as impressive as Justin Jefferson last year. And Justin Jefferson did it in a different way, but it's a little bit where you just line them up outside and their plays where they call like 989 doubles and stuff like that, which is just shot plays like Bruce Arians classics where you're just looking to take shots and you got two goes on the side outside and it doesn't matter what the coverage is. If it's quarters coverage, if it's cover three, if you're getting man to man, Jamar Chase, if it's based because quarters and cover three turn into man to man on the outside, Jamar Chase just wins on the outside, which is really, really impressive because he just wins by himself with just speed and physicality. And he goes and tracks the ball and makes unbelievable catches at the catch point, too. He is really, really, really good. And I think the route running aspect of it, it wasn't that I thought he was a bad route runner. I just felt like, he wasn't as shifty and as refined. It was a little bit rough around the edges. But I was wrong about that too. He's more refined than I gave him credit for. He's a beast and he's balling out right now. And I'm excited to see how his rookie season ends up because he's off to a real fast start.
Oh, definitely. And I think we mentioned this or we've talked about it off air, but we've been meaning to do last year we did a ranking of the rookie wide receivers. And it got a lot of traction. People were disagreeing with me about my assessment of Brandon Ayuk, which it's coming back around and looking good in my favor. But basically, what the point of this is we want to do this again. We want to rank, Chase, Waddle, and Smith, but Bateman maybe in there and some of the other guys. But the other guys either just are on terrible situations, like the Dolphins and Eagles just don't have really great quarterbacks throwing to them, like Burrow or you
Though
know
Hurts has been looking better to his credit.
He has been. You're right. You're right. But still, I think it's tough to do it yet so early in the season. And then Kadarius Toney and Bateman have been injured. Elijah Moore hasn't been out there as much as we would have hoped. So all of that. But we will at some point rank these guys, and I would be surprised if we didn't have Chase at number one at this point because
Yeah.
he is just on the tear.
Yeah, Devonta Smith has looked good. There's no doubt about it, especially when you go back and watch all his routes on the All 22. Like, Devonta Smith definitely has looked good. But to me, at this point, I thought Smith was the best receiver in the draft last year. I thought it was Smith, then Waddle, then Chase. Through 4 games so far, it's just 4 games. It looks like Chase, then Smith, then everybody else. And there's a considerable gap between Chase and Smith. And it's not that Smith has looked bad. He's looked really good. It's just um, that man, Jamar Chase, is a bad man.
Oh, definitely. So yeah, that's why we were wrong on Bengals, Jamar Chase. Bengals fans, we are sorry. We apologize. Please forgive us. He's been fantastic. And before that, for the last topic, just had this. Thank you, Junior Torres, for the donation. Wes Welker is the GOAT of wide receiver coaches. I can't confirm or deny this, but I will say Tom did call him and tell him he wanted to go to the Niners. So Wes Welker was in on that, and I wonder what he was thinking. Crazy.
You're a goofball.
Yeah, so that is all from there. Thank you. And then Todd, thank you for your donation. Much appreciated. The third option is to start Trey only for Arizona game. Say that you are cautious with Jimmy G. After you decide whether he is ready to start. Fish, what are your thoughts on this?
I think you can do this. And I think this is probably the safest option in terms of PR. It's kind of what the Bears are doing. They're taking it game by game, week by week with Justin Fields and trying to not put too much pressure on him. And I think Todd is absolutely right. But I'm at a point where if Trey Lance gets in and the game plan looks good, and Trey Lance even shows a little bit of something, and which he did at the end of that fourth quarter, even though the third quarter was ugly. I'm at a point where just let's just send it and see how it goes with him. Because again, I talked about it. There's growing pains that will come with Trey Lance, but I've gone through growing pains with Jimmy Garoppolo for the last 5 years as a fan,
Mhm.
and I'd rather go through growing pains where there's growing rather than grown pains where he's kind of just stayed as the same, middling but solid. No doubt he's solid and he's played solid football this year, but when you have a talent like this, I'd rather go through that than the grown pains.
Yeah, and I think the last thing that you want is what happened to Tua last year, where they put in Tua when Fitzpatrick was playing well. Tua, he would either get injured or just not look good. He would not look good, and they would put in Fitzpatrick, and I think that definitely hurts his confidence. Kind of is just a weird locker room feel. So I don't think you want to put Lance in that situation. What if he starts struggling and he's like 7 of 20 with say a fumble, a touchdown, and then an interception? Like, do you go to Jimmy G at that point if you think you can win with him? I don't know. I think saving yourself from that situation is something that you should try to put yourself in, because it's just
I
a
agree.
bad situation.
I 100% agree with that. And then my man Junior Torres says, "Look at the pick." I asked Wes, and he agrees. Okay, I think that's yeah. I see the pick. It looks like Junior's like a good 4 or 5 inches taller
Dude,
than Wes Welker
yeah,
in that pick.
yeah. Junior looks like he's like 6'5" or something. I mean, yeah, because
Well, I mean, Wes Welker isn't the tallest guy, but it looks like Junior was
he's
the
so
former NFL player, and Wes Welker is the guy taking the picture with Junior.
Wes Welker's got to be like 5'9", I would imagine,
Yeah,
something along those lines. Yeah,
that's
5'9".
funny.
Yeah, so nice job, Junior Torres, for
Yeah,
being more than him. Uh, so thank you again for the donation, by the way. That was
thank
very
you.
nice. I did want to put this up here because I thought this was hilarious. So Waddle set an NFL record for most targets, lowest receiving yards 2 weeks ago. Yeah, he was targeted, I want to say, like 12 times, and he had under 70 yards. I would have to double check that. I think it goes to show just how they using him is really weird. Yeah, he had 12 receptions for 58 yards. That's crazy. He doesn't really run many deep routes, or at least from what I've seen, all of his catches have been really short stuff, which is like he's good in the short game because he can like break tackles and all that, and he's elusive and quick and fast. But he's also those things. So you want to send him deep and have him make a play. So I feel like they just maybe it's because they have Brissett in there. I don't know what it is, but
Yeah, Miami's offense has had a lot of issues this season, and those issues have been exacerbated because Tua's not in. They have a lot of issues.
yeah, definitely. But just wanted to put that up there. And then the final topic before we let you guys enjoy the rest of your nights is this news. This was dropped tonight. I want to say an hour and a half ago on Tuesday night at like 9 Central. So the Cowboys released Jaylon Smith. They tried to trade him, and basically they couldn't. So they cut him. There's some dead cap there. I want to say 16 million in total, 7 this year, 9 next year. But and not flat numbers, it adds up to 16 or something like that. But anyway, Vish, what are your thoughts on this? Just general thoughts, maybe how it affects them, if it even does, or just how kind of sad it is what Jaylon Smith's career has come to.
Yeah, so it's not going to be processed according to Mike Garafolo until tomorrow. So there's still the
Mm.
opportunity to maybe trade him, but I doubt anybody's taking Jaylon Smith at that contract. And then James Slater also reported that it was nothing against Jaylon Smith. It was just that they liked how Keanu Neal and Van Der Esch and Jabril Cox, the other rookie they drafted, the rookie linebacker they drafted in the fourth round, to go with Micah Parsons, who's their kind of do it all, maybe the defensive rookie of the year till now. Stud, he's playing well, so then it just ended in them cutting Jaylon Smith. Honestly, I'm not too shocked by this move. Maybe I'm shocked because of the way the money was. It was a bad contract from the beginning. Jaylon Smith
Mhm.
had a really bad season last season. He was one of the biggest issues with the Dallas defense. I know everybody wants to blame it on Mike Nolan, but along with Mike Nolan, the issue was Jaylon Smith was just a hair slow in terms of his recognition, and he was just a step slow in terms of just his overall explosiveness and his ability to get people down. I mean, it's unfortunate because he was such a special player at Notre Dame. That injury, then him to come back from that injury, it's all really an amazing story and an impressive uh thing about Jaylon Smith for sure. And I'm obviously cheering for him. You don't want anybody to go through that. But
Mhm.
I'm definitely not totally shocked. Maybe I'm shocked because of the timing and the fact that they actually went through with it. But his play on the field definitely has not been of a guy that should be the starting linebacker on a defense that's really shocking everybody. It's a good defense. Trayvon Diggs looks good. That entire secondary is really playing well to go with Trayvon Diggs. Randy Gregory was making up for the loss of Demarcus Lawrence in a big way on Sunday. Leighton Vander Esch is good. Micah Parsons is everywhere, whether he lines up as an off-ball linebacker or on the
Mhm.
defensive line. He's impacting the game, and Dan Quinn is having them playing fast and physical, and he's more creative than I would have ever expected Dan Quinn to be in terms of with his defensive calls. So, it's a good defense that's getting better, and it's a young, fast, ferocious defense. And I guess they just didn't have a place for Jaylon Smith with that anymore.
Yeah, I'm with you on the whole 2016 team, 2016 sort of situation because that's when he was drafted. He was supposed to be a top 5 pick. He was insane at Notre Dame, and I want to say his knee is degenerative now, or I know he had a massive knee injury. I don't know if it's degenerative, but it took a little burst in acceleration off. He fell to the second, and this is the draft where the Cowboys took Zeke at 5. They took him in the second. They took Dak in fourth round. So this is just a cornerstone draft for them. These guys have been here for a few years. Dak obviously playing out of his mind right now. Zeke has had a little resurgence. I think his fall was a little bit over exaggerated potentially. But unfortunately, yeah, Jaylon Smith got cut, and I think it's in a large part to do to Keanu Neal. Now, I didn't know this was like happening in the offseason, but he's been adding weight to go from safety because he was on the Falcons previously to now being middle linebacker for the Cowboys, and I think that's a large part as to why he's gone. And then yeah, Parsons being there, Parsons has been amazing, whether that's at linebacker, blitzing, or just playing defensive end casually and just wrecking the Chargers. So he's been solid. And then Van Der Esch, as you mentioned, also another good linebacker. So I think that's to be expected. But I guess I'm more sad than anything because I like Jaylon Smith a lot coming in. And unfortunately, it just hasn't worked out. He did get the mega contract after 2018, after defense was really great. So tough for the Cowboys in making that decision to pay him that, cutting him. But I think too much of an impact on their season overall.
Hmm. For sure, for sure. Yeah, they again,
Yeah, but
it's unfortunate. I'm interested to see where he lands. I think Atlanta would be a decent spot for Jaylon Smith. I think Kansas City always looking for linebackers. That's a good spot. Philadelphia is a good spot for Jaylon Smith. There's a lot of spots that he's not. He could. I don't think he's a life changer, but I do think he can come in and start for those teams that do need linebackers everywhere.
I wouldn't mind him on the Packers. Chris Barnes, one of our starters, is injured. Devondre Campbell's been insane. It's crazy that we got him right before the start of the season. He's looked as good as he is, but Ty Summers is the third guy for the Packers. Hasn't been that great on defense. Solid special teams, give him that. But Jaylon Smith, I wouldn't hate him. It can't, you might as well just try it. Look what happened when they signed Campbell. That worked out.
You
Maybe
know that the pack.
Smith
You know that that's not the type
could
of
have
move the Packers make.
no, it isn't. I don't think anyone's going to trade for him and take on any of his contract because they would be shooting themselves in the foot by doing that, especially when they know he's going to get released. So, uh, yeah, I don't know. Maybe Gutekunst calls. Maybe he brings him in. Will
I don't think
be
Packers
the
can
thing.
afford his contract, but yeah, if he gets cut, maybe.
can move money around. It's doable, I'd imagine, but who knows? But that is Jaylon Smith for you. And that's really the end of the show. We were thinking of doing questions today, but it's been an hour. It's been extended. We added a few more topics than we previously anticipated due to this news. Thank you guys, all of you, for showing up and supporting this. And then Vish mentioned previously at the start of the show, but our schedule is sort of having a little twist. We were Mondays and Fridays. Fridays is going to stay the same. I think that's a good day for everyone. But Mondays, we're doing them during Monday Night Football, and it's kind of conflicting for people who like watching or listening to football because they probably like watching it too, so they want to watch. And Fish and I want to watch too. We do love talking about it, but we also want to watch. So we are going to be doing Tuesdays and Fridays now, and maybe some Mondays. Vish goes on with Grant Cohn on Mondays, so that's always the highlight of his Monday. So
it's always a highlight of everybody's Monday.
It is. It really is. So Tuesdays and Fridays from now on, most likely Tuesday nights. So just be on the lookout for that, and we'll post it on our channel community. When we're going live, and usually some of the topics. So next stream will be Friday, and we will announce that time at some later date. Most likely Friday morning we'll announce it. But again, please like, subscribe, share, and thank you all for your donations and your time tonight.